It takes a lot of effort to bring you these stories, and I'd really appreciate your support. All I ask from you is a like and subscribe. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone is listening. If anyone even turns on their radio anymore. But if you do, well, I guess you're listening to me during a zombie apocalypse. Sounds like the start of a bad joke, except no one's laughing anymore. Not unless they've lost it completely, and even then, it's more like barking. Wild, dry, and hollow. I've heard it. People losing grip doesn't take much. Thing is, before all this, the world was already loud. People just didn't notice it. Too busy chasing after noise of their own making. Promotions, paychecks, high rises, self-help podcasts. Everyone wanted to get ahead. Beat the curve, be better than the next guy, post about it. But then came the fall. Nobody calls it that, at least not officially, 'cause no one's around to give it a real name. But I like how that one sounds. It makes sense, doesn't it? Everything fell. Systems, cities, pride, and people. I used to watch them from the cracks, the polished ones. Running around in their shiny shoes, holding coffees like they were chalices. Always in a hurry. Always late for something important. I wasn't part of that world. Never really was. I didn't graduate with honors. Didn't start a startup. Didn't own much of anything except a pack of matches, a pair of boots, and enough street sense to disappear when needed. For folks like me, the end of the world didn't come as a collapse. It came as a shift. And now, there's no class, no credit score, no job title to measure your worth. Out here, no one gives a damn where you came from. What matters is how quiet you walk, how fast you run, and whether you know how to stay alive when the sun drops and the wind starts to carry that low, distant moaning. Out here, I'm just another voice trying to reach someone. Maybe you. This tower I'm broadcasting from used to be part of some emergency communication program. Probably had a big name once, like Civic Safety Response Grid or some other bureaucratic noise. Now, it's just steel bones and crumbling stairs. Wind whistles through the window gaps like it's trying to tell me something, and sometimes I listen. There's a massive glass wall here, floor to ceiling, still mostly intact. You can see the city from it. Not the way it used to be. No lights, no movement, except for the slow shuffle of the dead. But it's all still there. The bones of it. I've stood in front of that glass more times than I can count, just staring, trying to imagine how many people once looked out at the same view, never knowing what was coming. There's a helipad on the top. You can still see the faded H under the dirt and bird crap. Probably airlifted someone out once, or tried to. But I never found the chopper. But I did find a flare gun, a twisted stretcher, and 2 suitcases full of clothes that no longer fit this world. Inside the tower is just me. Me and the gear I managed to scavenge. And this mic. The cable's half chewed, and I had to rig the solar panel on myself, but it works. It all works. So I talk. I talk because I figure someone out there still got a radio. Maybe they're holed up in a basement clutching a battery-powered receiver like it's their last thread to something human. Or maybe there's some kid halfway to freezing, scanning channels for voices so they don't feel so alone. I don't know. but I remember what it was like to be found. And maybe if I talk long enough, I can return the favor. The people who lasted this long, they're the ones who weren't seen before. The quiet ones, the ignored, the ones who got used to being invisible. Now, they're the ones still standing. Isn't that something? When a guy like me walked into a room, folks would pat their pockets, double-check their wallets, lock their car doors a little faster. Now, when I walk into a room, the dead don't notice, and the living hope I've got clean water. The world reset, in a way, wiped the scoreboard. You're not a winner anymore just because you had the newest phone or the sharpest suit. You're not a loser because you slept under a bridge or had a record. You're just alive, or you're not. I've seen things change fast. I've seen folks try to rebuild little pockets of order, only to get overrun the next night. I've seen mothers carry their children for miles, only to drop from exhaustion before they ever found shelter. I've seen the kindest people become killers. I've seen the cruelest ones become heroes. Anyway, you didn't tune in for poetry, so I'll stop with the soul searching and get back to what matters, keeping you alive. As for me, I'm currently in Allentown. Wasn't my first stop, doubt it'll be the last, but for the moment, it's holding together better than most places I've passed through. This used to be a working man's town. You can see it in the bones. Factories with rusted roofs, smokestacks that don't smoke anymore, rows of brick homes with windows punched out like knocked teeth. The kind of city where people woke up early, worked late, and didn't have time to complain. Now, there's no one left to complain to. Downtown's mostly gone. Not in the exploded, firebombed kind of way. Just hollow. Storefronts with mannequins slumped behind cracked glass. Dust-covered diners where ketchup bottles are still full. Half the buildings still have lights in them, blinking from backup power or whatever solar junk got bolted on before the collapse. But they don't mean anything now. I keep off the main roads. Too open. Too many eyes, dead or otherwise. I stick to the side streets, duck through alleys. Learned a long time ago to move quiet and think smaller. Don't need to clear a block, just a hallway. Don't need to raid a store, just a drawer. And always check the ceiling. You'd be surprised how often the dead end up above you now. I've got a little routine here. Set up base in this old state-run emergency response tower. Rusted and ugly, but from the top you can see the city sag beneath you, like it's breathing or trying to. I keep my supplies hidden in different spots. Never put all your hope in one bag. There's an old mattress warehouse near 10th that's got clean water barrels behind it. Probably meant for fire safety back in the day. Now it's just liquid gold. I boiled it the first time. Don't anymore. Haven't puked yet, so that's something. I eat what I find. Cans, MREs, rats sometimes. Don't look at me like that. When you get hungry enough, you'll even eat the glue off wallpaper. Nights are cold here. Colder than they should be. Maybe it's the wind coming through the cracked windows. Maybe it's just the quiet. There's something about this city at night. It doesn't just feel empty. It feels abandoned. Like even the air gave up and left. Now, you're probably wondering who I am. I've been talking a while and haven't said my name. I'll get to that eventually. Just know I've been where you are, cold, alone, wondering if the sun's ever going to rise without something clawing at your door. And yeah, I've made my share of bad choices. Took things that weren't mine. slept in places that weren't mine, survived off crumbs and guilt for longer than I care to remember. But when the world ended, all of that got buried under rubble and ash. The city doesn't care what your past looks like, it only cares how long you can keep breathing. So maybe this place isn't worse for people like me. Maybe it's just honest. I'll tell you more next time about who I am and why I talk on the radio. But for now, this is Devon. Yeah, that's my name, Devon. Talking into the dark, hoping it talks back. It's Devon again. Got lucky today. Ran across this busted grocery store just off Hamilton. One of those old strip mall types. Windows long gone. Most of the shelves stripped clean. But someone missed a storage room in the back. Door was wedged shut behind a fallen soda machine. Took me a good 20 minutes to get it open without making too much noise, but it was all worth it. A couple bags of rice, sealed. Some beef jerky, still vacuum packed. Expired, sure, but it smelled all right. Found a dented box of those peanut butter bars the kids used to bring for lunch. That kind of thing's like gold now. Point is, I've got time tonight. A full belly and a quiet tower. So, maybe I should finally talk about something I've been putting off. Who I am, where I came from. Not because I think I'm important. Not because I want to be remembered when this all turns to dust. But because I figure some of you out there might be wondering why I bother. Why I keep talking to this dead frequency like it's gonna save me. So, let's set the record straight. Don't go thinking I'm some kind of martyr. I ain't. I'm not here to redeem the world or lead survivors to paradise. I'm here because I owe someone. And maybe because this voice, this signal, it's the only clean thing I've got left. My name's Devon. Not Officer Devon, not Dr. Devon. Just Devon. And truth is, I didn't exactly come into this world with much. Grew up in Camden. Not the nice side with the row houses and the deli on the corner. I'm talking about the part where windows stayed boarded year-round and sirens were just part of the soundtrack. Mom was there, sort of. She cleaned offices at night and slept through the day. When she wasn't working, she was smoking. When she wasn't smoking, she was passed out. Never met my dad. Never even saw a picture. I had a younger brother once. Didn't make it past 5. Pneumonia. No one took him to the hospital until it was too late. Not because they didn't care, just no one had a car. No one had the money. Mom cried for 3 days and then just stopped talking about him. His room turned into a closet, and that was that. School? Yeah, I went for a while. But let me ask you something. How are you supposed to care about math and spelling when you haven't eaten since lunch the day before? How are you supposed to study when they're shouting in the hallway at 2 a.m., or your mom's getting pushed around again by whatever new guy she thought would be different? Then one day, Mom just didn't come home. No note, no goodbye. She was just gone. I waited a day, then a week, but she never came back. I wondered for years why she'd do that, why she'd leave me like that. I blamed her, still kinda do, but now I think I get it. Losing my brother broke something in her. That house wasn't a home anymore. Maybe she couldn't take another day in that life. Or maybe she needed to forget me too, so that she could start fresh. So I stopped going to school around 13. Not like anyone noticed. Not like the school sent someone to check. You disappear easy when no one's looking for you. But by then, I'd already started running with some older guys. They taught me how to lift from corner stores, how to boost wallets without getting caught. It wasn't glamorous, but it filled the belly. And it gave me something I didn't have before. People who saw me. Even if it was just as a lookout or a warm body. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I wasn't planning to turn into a criminal. But you grow up in the cracks, you do what you gotta do to keep from getting swallowed. Petty crimes led to bigger ones. Breaking and entering, boosting copper from abandoned buildings. The kind of stuff that doesn't hurt anyone directly, but still lands you in front of a judge. They'd look at my file, see the address I came from, the school reports full of absences, the juvenile records, and you could see it in their eyes. This kid was always headed here. No one ever asked what I wanted to be. No one ever asked what I needed. It was always too late. By my mid-20s, jail was just a part of life. Like getting the flu every winter. You go in, do your time, come out, try to stay clean, realize you've got no shot, and fall right back in. I tried once, really tried. Got a job moving furniture. Woke up early, worked like hell, but it didn't matter. Couldn't make rent, couldn't stay out of the old neighborhood. Every time I passed a pawn shop or saw someone leave their car running, I'd feel it. I'd feel that itch. I'd feel that pull. Eventually, I gave in. Last time they caught me, I was siphoning gas from a bike in someone's garage. Got knocked out cold with a metal bat. Woke up in the back of a squad car. Didn't even fight it. Just figured this was a routine again. Back in, back out. Only this time there was no out. Next time they got me, I was 28, breaking and entering. Guy caught me in his garage trying to siphon gas from his bike. He hit me with a bat, knocked out a tooth. Cops came. I was already bleeding. Didn't fight it. They sentenced me. Not a long one, but long enough. State time. This wasn't county anymore. I was cuffed, chained, and on my way to prison with 2 other guys in the back of a patrol car when it happened. We were on I-78 heading west. Officer driving didn't say much. Other one sat up front with a shotgun on his lap. I was in the middle seat. Could smell the guy next to me had thrown up earlier. The third guy just stared ahead. Didn't blink. Then we heard the crash. Sounded like a tire popped, but when the car jerked sideways, we all slammed into the cage wall. The cop driving started yelling. The car swerved again, and then something hit the side. Hard. A body, maybe more than one. I remember the glass breaking, then a scream, and then a gurgle. Someone opened the door, but it wasn't help. It was a man, or what was left of one. Skin pulled tight, mouth red, eyes cloudy and unfocused like he was looking through us. He dragged the shotgun cop out and bit into his throat like it was nothing. It was chaos. I saw the keys on the driver's belt, still hanging there as he struggled against another one of those things. I didn't think. Just acted. Pulled the chain around my wrists as tight as I could, leaned forward, and jammed my foot into the guy's side. Rolled him halfway over and got the keys. By the time I got myself free, the screaming had stopped. I didn't check on the others. I didn't wait to see if help was coming. I ran. Off the road. Through the trees. clothes soaked in someone else's blood, but I didn't stop for miles. That was day one. The outbreak. Or near enough to it. I don't know what happened to the guys in the back with me. Maybe they made it. Maybe they didn't. The guy with the bad breath and the pale skin. I remember he said something in the car before the crash. Something about having a kid he never met. Funny how stuff like that sticks with you. Anyway, that's how I got out. That was the beginning of this world, of the collapse. And for someone like me, someone who was already living in the margins, it didn't feel like the end. It felt like a weird kind of leveling. Like the world had finally dropped its mask and said, "Fine, let's see how you all do without your comfort, your credit cards, your second chances. Out here, nobody cares about your past. Nobody's looking at your shoes, or your job history, or your high school GPA. Out here, you survive or you don't." And I guess all those years slipping through alleys, sleeping in squats, watching shadows taught me how to last longer than most. So, no, I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who didn't have the same path as you. Someone who clawed his way through every inch of life and ended up here in a rusted-out tower, talking into a mic like it's the only friend I've got left. You don't have to like me, but maybe now, maybe you understand. Anyway, enough of that. You didn't tune in for my sob story, right? Let's talk about what really matters, surviving. You're not gonna last long out here without knowing a few things, and trust me, I've learned the hard way. First off, don't believe the hype about the safe zones. There's no such thing. People think these places are fortified, but in the end, it's just another illusion. A bunch of hopeful idiots with no real plan, huddling together and hoping a miracle happens. Don't trust them. If you find yourself near one, keep your distance. It's easy to get dragged in with the idea of safety, but it's all a trap. They've got their own problems. More mouths to feed, more tension, more fights. If you want to survive, keep moving. You stay too long in one place, you're an easy target. Now, if you're stuck somewhere like me, with limited options, you gotta make do. The first rule, don't waste anything. You need that extra scrap of metal, or that old wire, grab it. You'll be surprised what you can do with stuff you'd never think twice about before. Like this old tower I'm broadcasting from. This thing's barely standing, but I've made it work. Those rickety steps, perfect for hiding stuff. The old broken down generator gets me just enough power to keep this transmission going. Nothing gets wasted. If you see an old piece of junk, that's not junk. It's a resource. You learn quick or you don't last long. You'll hear people talk about water purification. Don't bother. You can only purify so much before your supplies run out. And trust me, the stuff you find isn't clean. If you can't get bottled water or a decent filter, you're better off with rainwater or what you can scoop from a stream. But even then, you'll want to boil it. If you don't have a fire, you're screwed. I've rigged up some old stuff to make it work. Look, if you're new to this, you're gonna make mistakes. We all did. The key is to not make the same ones twice. And if you do, don't let it cost you your life. Now, about food. The good stuff's gone. There's no more fresh produce or neat little cans of soup. You'll be eating whatever you can find in old stores, mostly expired stuff. But hey, in this world, expired is still food. I know, it's not pretty, but you don't get a choice. Foraging's another good option, though. berries, mushrooms, wild herbs. Yeah, they're a pain to identify, but you get good at it after a while. Only rule I've got for that: don't eat anything unless you're 100% sure it's safe. You eat the wrong thing out here, it's not just hunger you've got to worry about. You'll spend the next 12 hours praying you don't die in your sleep. One more thing: noise. If you don't want to attract attention, don't make it. I learned that the hard way after I got a little too confident trying to take a shortcut through a neighborhood. One thing I'll tell you: those biters, they can't see worth a damn, but their hearing, that's something else. You drop a tin can, they'll be on you in a flash. The real trick: moving like you belong, like you're just another piece of debris in the city. If you can blend in, if you can move without drawing attention, you've got a better chance of making it. And look, I get it, I really do. Wanting to help someone, wanting to do some good in all this mess. But don't do it at your own detriment. People out here are unpredictable. I don't care how tough you think you are. One wrong move, and you're gone. Stick to your gut. Be careful who you trust. Help if you can, sure, but don't throw yourself into the fire thinking you'll come out clean. You've still got to survive, and sometimes that means walking away. Look, I don't say all this to scare you, but to remind you that in the end, survival doesn't come with a manual. It's about staying calm, staying smart. You might think you can outrun the zombies, but it's not them that'll kill you. It's the mistakes. The lack of food, the lack of sleep, the wrong choice at the wrong time. So, get your head straight, keep your wits about you, and just make it through another day. That's all you need to worry about for now. All right, I think that's enough for tonight. If you're still out there, keep going. Don't let the silence eat you up. Talk to yourself if you have to. Keep your mind sharp. And if you're listening to me, if you found this frequency, then at least we're not alone, right? This is Devon signing off. I found something strange today. Not the usual kind of strange. Not the I stepped over 3 rib cages and a melted mattress kind. Not even the someone carved a message into the wall with their fingernails kind. This was different. This was the kind of strange that makes your teeth itch before you even know why. The kind you don't shake off when you get home, no matter how many times you check the locks or check the gear in your bag. I wasn't planning a long run today. Supplies are still holding, nothing fancy, but I've got enough cans and dry packs to get through the week. But I've been getting restless, and I'm starting to think that's the real danger now, not the biters, not the infection. It's the silence. It creeps in and rots your thoughts from the inside out. So, I figured I'd get out, stretch the legs, check some places I usually ignore. There's a patch of old neighborhoods on the north side, places where nobody ever cleaned up after the outbreak. Not even the early crews. You can still see the overgrown basketball hoops in backyards, dog bowls tipped over on porches, curtains flapping like flags no one pled allegiance to. That's where I was. And that's when I found the building. No street signs anymore, but if you're from Allentown, you might remember it. The Glen Hollow Community Center. Squat, red brick place with a few solar panels on the roof that probably haven't worked since the first blackout. I didn't even remember it existed until I turned down that cracked cul-de-sac and saw the faded lettering above the busted glass doors. I don't know why I stopped. Didn't look promising. Half the building was sunken for water damage, and the entrance had this caved-in canopy that screamed death by falling debris. But something told me to take a look. Might have been that same itch I mentioned, the one that starts behind your ears when the quiet gets too thick. Inside wasn't much to see at first. The reception desk was rotted out, water stains in the ceiling tiles. Some of the rooms were half flooded, and old chairs were floating around like ghost furniture. I walked to the perimeter, found a few unopened supply crates in the gym's back office, probably left during some half-hearted evacuation setup. Took what I could carry, canned pears, a cracked med kit, and a pair of dry socks, which honestly felt like gold. But that's not the part that stuck with me. It was near the north wing, a hallway that used to lead to the community daycare, I think. The walls still had peeling murals, dolphins, suns with smiling faces, cartoon kids holding hands around the globe. But then my eyes caught something strange. A mark. Carved low into the wall behind a knocked-over filing cabinet. It was deep. Deep enough that I stopped walking and crouched down to look. It wasn't made by a person, not unless they had razors for fingers. And it wasn't a panic mark either, not like someone scraping to get away. This was a deliberate slash, one smooth motion. 4 deep grooves, evenly spaced, each about an inch wide and as long as my forearm. And something about the edges. They weren't clean. They were burned, like whatever tore into that wall left scorch behind. Blackened concrete, heat-blasted plaster. No bite marks, no blood, just that. I stood up, looked down the hallway. More marks, higher this time, on the opposite wall, angled like whatever made them had been climbing, or crawling sideways along the walls. The air felt heavier then, like the building itself was holding its breath. I told myself to keep going. Just a quick look, just another room or two. But I didn't, because I felt it. You ever feel like you're being watched from the other side of something? Not just seen, but measured? Like your movements are being recorded, not by cameras, but by something alive. That's what it felt like. And I've learned not to argue with that feeling. I backed out the way I came. Quiet steps, no light, even held my breath a few times. Every creak in the floor sounded like a scream, and still, I didn't hear a damn thing. Not a shuffle, not a breath. Just that feeling. Like something had been waiting. Didn't see anything on the way out. Just shadows stretching long across the tile. Just silence following me like a second skin. When I got back to the street, I didn't look back. I didn't want to know if something was watching from the window. If it was pressed up against the glass, just out of sight, waiting for me to turn around. I've seen a lot out here. Biters missing half their heads, still clawing toward you. Packs of them dragging their broken limbs across parking lots. I've even seen what happens when a person turns and doesn't fully die. But this was different. No groans, no screeches, and no mess. Just the marks. I don't know what made them, but whatever it wasn't stumbling. It wasn't lost. It had purpose. And it was quiet. The quiet reminded me of something else today. When I was a kid, 9, maybe 10, I used to hide in this hallway closet when things got bad. You ever see those old ones with a heavy door warped at the bottom? coats packed in like insulation, boxes jammed on the shelf above. Smelled like dust and old leather. I don't know why I picked that spot. Maybe because once you were in there, the world outside got muffled, like you weren't part of it anymore. It was small, dark, stuffy, but I could breathe. And more than that, it was quiet. Not just the absence of yelling, but the kind of silence that feels like a blanket thrown over your ears. Everything would dull out. The banging, the arguing, the glass breaking. I'd sit there with my knees tucked up, eyes closed, and just listen to nothing. That nothing was the safest I ever felt. Funny, right? The one thing that used to mean safety is what scares me most now. That building today, the one with the claw marks, it had that same kind of quiet. Not abandoned quiet, not dead quiet, kind where the walls are listening too, where your own footsteps sound like an alarm bell. And I swear, I can feel something watching. Not from a window, not through a scope. I mean, something inside the silence. And still, part of me wanted to crawl deeper in, like that closet. Like maybe, if I just got real still, whatever was waiting wouldn't notice me. Old habits like that, they don't die easy. You grow up learning how to disappear. It sticks. But here's the truth. Back then, hiding worked. Quiet was safety. Now it's bait. It's hard to explain to someone who's never felt it. That kind of silence, it presses against your ribs. It's like the whole place is holding its breath, waiting for something to move. And the moment you do, you feel like you've broken some ancient rule. And worse, like something heard you break it. That's why I got out when I did. I didn't run, didn't panic, just moved like I wasn't there. Like the building had let me go. Maybe it had, or maybe whatever was inside just hadn't gotten hungry yet. Still, the feeling's been with me ever since, like a weight on the back of my neck. And tonight, I can't shake it. But hey, don't let me end the broadcast on a moody note. I just thought maybe someone needed to hear that. Maybe some kid's out there hiding in a closet right now, thinking the silence is his friend. Maybe it is, for now. But one day, that silence might start watching back. Anyway, I'll be back on the air soon. This is Devon, still up in the tower, still breathing, signing off for now. You know, I used to think I knew what I was doing out here. I started talking on this frequency because I thought I had knowledge that might help someone. Maybe a lot of someone's. Figured after a few years of crawling through ruins and ducking teeth, I'd seen just about every flavor of nightmare the world could serve. Thought I understood the biters. Thought I had them figured out. They groan, they lurch, they hunt by sound. Stay quiet, stay low, and you live another day. Simple equation. But today, I'm not sure I know anything anymore. I went on a supply run this morning. Nothing crazy. Just an old pharmacy east of 7th and Walnut. Corner of a strip that used to have a laundromat and a little taco joint. I'd passed it plenty of times, but never bothered going in. Too close to the water line, I thought. Probably flooded. Probably already picked clean. But I needed painkillers. My left leg, never talked about it before, but it's been messed. It happened on that day I tried to escape the cop car. Now it flares up when it wants, like it's got a grudge, and this was one of those times. So I forced the shutter open, took it slow, But right away, something felt off. I don't know how to describe it. This feeling. Only people who've lived like I have can sense danger when it's lurking near. Folks who spent nights hiding in abandoned buildings, waiting for footsteps to pass. People who've run from things that don't wait to ask questions. Cops, dealers, worse. You develop this gut instinct, this sixth sense that doesn't lie. It's not something you learn, it's something that gets carved into you real deep. And when it flares up, you listen, because it's not wrong, not ever. I should have turned back then. Should have trusted that itch crawling up the back of my neck, the one that usually means you're not alone, even if you can't see what's watching. But I didn't. I was desperate for those meds, and I didn't want to go home empty-handed. So I kept moving, picked my way through broken shelves and scattered pill bottles, trying not to step on anything too loud. The deeper in I got, the colder it felt. Not physically, just colder. Like the kind of cold that creeps in behind your ribs. That kind you don't notice till your breathing gets shallow. There was this hallway behind the main counter, mostly blocked off by a collapsed cabinet. I climbed over it and found myself in this narrow back corridor. Door at the end was half open, like someone, or something, left in a hurry. The smell hit me first. Not rot like the biters. This was sharper, metallic, wet, like old blood and something chemical beneath it. Floor was sticky with something I didn't want to think too hard about. I remember my boots making the soft, peeling sound every time I took a step, like walking across dried syrup. And that's when I saw it. A strip of skin. Long, translucent. God help me, I touched it. Rubbery, almost wet. The ends were flayed like they'd been peeled. But it wasn't some snake's shed skin. It was too big. Human-sized, maybe bigger. And it wasn't just lying there. It led to the vent. The ductwork above had been torn open from the inside. Grates bent outward, screws stripped and dangling. Something had moved through it. Something big enough to shed and still fit through air vents like a rat. Or a spider. Or something worse. I stood there staring at that thing for too long. Time slowed. It was quiet. Dead quiet. Like the whole world had left the room. And I started thinking, maybe I hadn't come in alone. Maybe whatever left that skin was still nearby, still watching. I backed out slow, never turned around. I don't even remember leaving the building, just the air hitting my face and the sky already turning gray. I've been sitting here ever since, trying to make sense of what I saw. Trying to pretend I imagined it, but I didn't. The guy who saved me back when this all started, he used to say, "Only fools ignore when the forest goes silent." That silence I told you about last time, it was there again, but different this time. Not curious, not watchful, hungry. I don't know what's out there, but it's not just biters anymore. Not just the moaning, stumbling dead. Something else is moving through this city. I've been through some things, you know? I've seen biters tear through crowds like tissue paper. I've had to sleep under cars and sewer drains in places so dark and damp I couldn't tell if the water dripping near me was from above or below. But this feels different. I don't get spooked easy, not anymore. But whatever I saw the signs of today, whatever shed that skin, whatever bent those vents from the inside, I don't think it's like the others. It didn't leave a trail of bodies or growls or moans. Just quiet. Empty quiet. And that strip of skin, still warm like it had just peeled off. It's like the city's holding its breath. And I'm starting to wonder if I should be holding mine too. Anyway, I found some painkillers while I was in there. Lucky, I guess. For now, I'm gonna take care of this pain. It's not just about enduring it anymore. Every time my leg flares up, it's like the whole world slows down. It makes me sloppy, you know? My movements aren't as sharp. I trip over my own damn feet, forget where I put things, or I drop them because I can't steady my hands. So, I'm gonna take one and then knock myself out for a few hours maybe. Let the pain take a break and see if my brain can stop replaying that skin curling at the edges like it wanted to move on its own. Yeah, I'm running on fumes here, so if I don't check in tomorrow, maybe I'm just trying to catch up on some much-needed rest. So, I'm gonna get some shut-eye for now. I'll be back on the air once I feel a bit better. For now, this is Devon, signing off. Couldn't sleep. Figured I'd turn the mic back on. Been quiet all night up here, too quiet. You'd think that'd be good. Silence used to mean safety. Now it just means the monsters are holding their breath. But tonight wasn't about what's outside, it's what's in my head. I had dreams again, the bad kind, ones that don't even pretend to make sense. Flash and blur and screams that ain't even real, but leave you waking up sweating, heart pounding like it's trying to claw out your chest. Saw that strip of skin again, the one I told you about, the flayed ends, still warm in the dream. Then the biters. Faces I've seen before, twisted up, mouths full of teeth but no voices. They moved different this time. Crawled on the ceilings like spiders. Didn't moan, just stared. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. And then, the worst part, where I had to relive that moment when I lost him. I haven't told you about him yet, have I? Guess I figured it wasn't your business. Or maybe I just didn't want to feel it again. But maybe it's time. You should know where I got this voice from, this mission to help people. It wasn't for me, not really. It was him. Let me take you back. You already heard how I escaped the cop car. I ran until I couldn't. And I don't mean metaphorically, I mean my body just gave out. Turns out, all that blood soaking through my pants was mine. My left leg took the worst of it. Bit of jagged metal, don't even know what from, tore right in below the knee. Deep, dirty, and hot like fire. I didn't feel it at first, not with the sirens and the chaos and that wild rush of adrenaline, but when it hit me, damn. It never really healed right, not completely. Every so often, especially when it's cold, or when I've pushed too hard, the pain comes roaring back. But the worst days are the ones like today, when it rains. Doesn't even have to be heavy. Just that damp chill in the air, the kind that sinks into your bones and makes old wounds scream like they remember. My left leg locks up stiff as a pipe. I made it off the road, into the trees, then across a field, and into what looked like an old tool shed. Locked the door, pushed a crate in front of it, curled up in the corner. I don't remember much after that. Just flashes, a coppery taste in my mouth, fever, talking to someone who wasn't there. Thought I saw my brother once. I was in that strange place between living and slipping away. You know how it is. When I woke up, I wasn't in the shed anymore. I was in someone's home. Not a house, not a bunker, an actual home. Old furniture, paintings still on the walls, one of those grandfather clocks in the corner that ticked so loud it filled the silence. The man who lived there. His name was Hank, tall guy. Beard was going gray. Always wore this thick red flannel even when it was hot. He had kind eyes. Sad, too. You could tell he'd seen some loss. He was sitting in the chair across from the couch I was laid up on, reading a book like I wasn't some handcuffed convict he'd just dragged inside from the edge of death. I remember the first thing I said to him. "Why'd you bother?" He looked up, didn't even flinch, just said, "You looked like my son, at least how I remember him." Didn't ask questions about who I was, didn't ask what I'd done. He just fed me, kept the fire going, changed my bandages, gave me antibiotics, taught me how to walk again on that leg. We stayed there, him and me, for 3 months. Didn't feel like the end of the world when I was there. Felt like a second chance. Maybe the only one I ever got. He had these sayings, simple ones, the kind that sound dumb until you really need them. Take care of people, they take care of you. Don't build a wall so high you can't see the sky. Don't close your heart, son. You'll need it more than your fists. One night, we were cooking some canned soup. We'd salvaged it from a busted gas station, and I asked him why he never left. Why he wasn't out there like everyone else, running from city to city, hoarding ammo, and living in fear. He said, "Because the world already took everything from me once. I'm not letting it take who I am." I don't know how he held on to his humanity like that. Not with everything he'd been through. His wife was gone, his real son too. He didn't say how, only that the house was too quiet without them. And when he found me near dead in the dirt, it was like the universe tossed him a thread of purpose. He said I gave him a reason to keep going. Funny, I always thought it was the other way around. But even kindness can't keep the monsters out forever. It was early morning, just before dawn. Fog still thick in the woods outside, curling through the trees like smoke from a dying fire. I was at the back door, trying to rig some old lawn chairs into a makeshift barricade. Hank was in the kitchen, humming low, heating up some kind of stew. He always did that. Hummed like the world wasn't rotting outside. I didn't hear the door open behind me. Didn't hear the latch creak. Didn't hear the thing step through. All I felt was a shift in the air, that kind of cold that sticks to your spine, and then the growl. I turned too slow. It was already lunging. Came out of the fog like a nightmare dragged into the waking world. Pale skin stretched tight, veins like black wires, its jaw split wide open, teeth slick with dark spit. I didn't even get my hands up. Then Hank was there. He moved faster than I'd ever seen him. Threw himself between me and it, taking the full force of the tackle. They crashed into the floor with a sound that cracked through the house. I screamed his name. Hank punched the thing once, twice, but it was already gnawing into his side, jaws working like machinery, shredding fabric and flesh. Crimson exploded across the floor. I grabbed the fire poker and smashed it into the thing's head. Over and over. I was screaming the whole time. Didn't even realize I'd knocked the lamp over, broken half the table. I didn't stop until the biter stopped twitching. And when it did, Hank was already slumped back against the wall. His breathing was quick and uneven. He kept clutching his side like he was trying to hold himself together, like something inside was slipping out that had no business seeing the light of day. I dropped to my knees beside him, hands shaking so bad I could barely keep pressure on the wound. Told him to stay with me. Told him to breathe. That I'd get the med kit, stop the bleeding, patch him up like we always did. But even as I said it, I knew it was a lie. He did too. Grabbed my wrist, looked me dead in the eye, like he was already halfway gone, but still holding on long enough to make sure I heard him. There was this calm in him. Not fear, not panic, just acceptance, sadness, but peace too. He told me I reminded him of his boy. Said it wasn't just a face. I had the same fire. That same lost, reckless fire that gets you into trouble but keeps you moving when nothing else can. He looked at me like a father would. Not mine, but someone's. Said I had to keep going. That someone out there would need me the way I needed him. And I swear, right then, I felt smaller than I ever had. Like I was a kid again. Just helpless, powerless. He told me not to close my heart, not now, not after everything. Said the world was full of bad, so much bad you forget what good feels like. But if even one person gets to feel a little bit of it, a little kindness, it's enough to make all the pain worth it. And then he was just gone. I held onto his hand like I could keep him anchored here. But the warmth was already slipping, and all I could do was sit there and remember every damn word. He smiled. Not big, just a little one. Enough to say it's okay now. Then his eyes stopped moving. I stayed there with him for I don't know how long. Didn't scream, didn't cry. Sorry for the ramble. I just had to get that out. I'm gonna try to sleep again. If you're out there listening and you've still got someone left, hold on to them, tight. If you don't, maybe be that someone for somebody else. Sometimes the only reason we keep going is because someone else once gave us a reason. This is Devon, signing off for now. And Hank, if you're up there somewhere, thanks for seeing me. I'm leaving this city. Ain't safe here. Not anymore. Not after what happened today. The painkillers I'd found before barely numbed the pain. My leg's been getting worse. Stiffer. Heavier. Like the bones underneath are grinding each time I move. I needed something stronger. Real meds. And the only place left that might still have some sealed stock was St. Vincent's. That old hospital near the overpass. Most people avoid it now, and I get why. But I didn't have a choice. I told myself it'd be a short trip, in and out. I knew the place. Used to sleep in the ambulance bay when the streets were too hot. Knew the tunnels, the service halls, which stairwells weren't collapsed. I figured I could slip in, grab what I needed, and disappear again before anything noticed. But the second I stepped through those rusted, half-open bay doors, I knew something was wrong. It wasn't the smell, though that was bad enough. No, it was the air. Thick, charged. Like a thunderstorm was waiting inside the building, crouched in the shadows. I moved slow, sweeping the halls with my flashlight. That's when I found it. A mirror. Cracked, dusty. But that's not what made me stop. The glass was scratched. Deep. Not like it had been broken in a fight. These were carved. Deliberate. Vertical slashes and loops, some wide, some tight, like spirals. They weren't random. They were patterned. I leaned in, trying to trace the markings with my eyes. They repeated. same arrangement, again and again, like someone or something had been trying to draw symbols. Over and over, practicing, copying, like it was learning. That's what chilled me most, the intent behind it. Whatever did this wasn't flailing. It was thinking. I stood there for a minute, frozen, just breathing and watching the light dance across the gouges. Then something snapped in me. Survival instinct, maybe. I turned away and made for the lower floors. Had to focus. Still needed the meds. I reached the old pharmacy. Half the cabinets had already been looted, glass smashed, shelves stripped bare. But somehow, behind a panel that had collapsed inward, I found a bottle, sealed, dusty, but intact. Real opioids. Probably expired, but I didn't care. I nearly laughed just holding them. My hands shook when I pocketed them. And then I saw it, just beyond the counter, a trail. Not footprints, no boot marks. These were long, broken drags, like someone or something had been sliding its body across the floor. Smeared dust, bent tiles. It curved toward the far wall, then up. That's what stopped me. The marks didn't end at the wall, they climbed it. And then they vanished into the ceiling, right where the panels were pulled down, like something had just slid up, easy as breathing, and disappeared into the ducts above. I didn't want to believe it, but the tiles were bent, not falling down, pushed up from below. And that's when I heard it. Above me, slow, heavy, a dragging noise. Metal on tile, or maybe not metal, maybe skin. It was subtle, like something didn't want to be heard. It shifted its weight once, paused. Then again, right above where I was standing. I killed the flashlight, stood still, didn't move, didn't even breathe, just listened. The noise stopped. I looked up and I swear, for just a second I saw dust raining down through the vent, fine as ash. It knew I was there. It had stopped to listen, not to hunt, not yet, to study. It was like being inside a lion's cage and realizing it isn't hungry yet, but it might get curious. I don't remember leaving, not clearly, just flashes, pushing through the side door, making it into the alley. The sky was orange, the wind was howling through shattered glass, and everything around me felt wrong, warped. The silence followed me. It wasn't just quiet. It was watching. I didn't run. I didn't sprint. I moved like a man balancing on a wire stretched over fire, step by step, calm on the outside, screaming on the inside. And now I'm back here in the tower, bottle of pills in my hand. I should feel safe. I should feel better. But I don't. Because that thing, I know it's not gone. I feel it in my bones. The way you feel weather coming before the sky turns. The way old wounds ache before a storm. It's here, still moving, still listening. And it's waiting for something. That's why I'm leaving. Soon as my leg gives me even a day's mercy, I'm gone. Because I've survived a lot. Hunger, violence, the infected. But this is different. This thing, it doesn't just want to eat. It wants to understand. And I think if I stay here any longer, I won't make it to the end of the week. Not because of the pain. Not because of the loneliness. But because something is in this city that was never meant to be. Something that doesn't make a sound. So I'm leaving this city. As soon as my leg gives me even a bit of leeway, I'm gone. But don't worry, I'll check in one last time before I go. Until then, this is Devon, signing off. This will be my last broadcast. Not saying that for drama, not fishing for sympathy, just the truth. To be honest, I never thought I'd be making a broadcast like this. I waited 2 days. Figured the pain in my leg would ease up enough to move, and it did. But I should have gone sooner. I think deep down I knew that, but I waited. And while I waited, something shifted. So now, before the end catches up to me, however it comes, I want to tell you what happened. If anyone's still out there listening, maybe it'll help. Maybe it'll make a difference. Maybe it's just something someone ought to know. I was packing for the road. Had everything lined up: water, food, the pills that let me walk, my knife, a crumpled map, scribbled with all the routes I thought might still be safe. Flare gun strapped to a drop leg rig, just in case. I was halfway through stuffing it all into my bag when I heard it. A soft stirring from the ceiling. Not the roof, inside the ceiling. Like something was dragging itself through the ducts or rafters just above my head. I froze mid-step. Tried to tell myself it was the wind, just a branch scraping. Then there was a loud crash. Loud and sharp, somewhere inside the tower. I spun around, heart thudding like a war drum. Grabbed the flashlight and crept forward slow. Couldn't hear anything after that. Not with the rain hammering down on the roof and walls like it was trying to drown out the world. Just a curtain of noise, swallowing every creak and groan. But I could feel something. The air had changed. Dense, cold, like the pressure dropped the second it got in. I swept the flashlight beam across the room. Walls, shelves, corners, nothing. Then I saw it, near the back. A busted vent cover. Crushed, bent inward. The screws had been ripped out, not unscrewed, it was yanked. Metal twisted like paper. Something had forced its way in. I backed up fast. Panic rising like bile in my throat. My first instinct was to run, just grab the bag, the gear, and get out. But as I turned, I saw it. In the dim light of the rainy night, just past the edge of my beam, standing, waiting, watching. At first, I thought it was smaller, almost too small to be the thing I had feared, the creature that had been there at the hospital. But then I really looked at it. Its limbs were too thin, too contorted to be anything resembling human. Its arms, if I could even call them that, were bent at unnatural angles, joints cracking and popping as they shifted like the creaking of old bones under too much weight. That's when it hit me. It wasn't that it was smaller. It had just been bending its limbs, twisting them into angles no body should be able to do, just to fit into the tight spaces of the vents, the ducts. It had been moving in the shadows, hiding itself inside the very walls that were supposed to protect me. But now it was coming out. The body. It started to unfold like it was taking shape again. I could see its legs stretching out, its bones snapping back into a more familiar form. The way its torso expanded, its spine jerking into place. That wasn't a survival mechanism. It was something worse. The creature moved slowly, its limbs bent unnaturally, joints cracking as it shifted like a snake. Its arms were too long, ending in sharp claws that scraped the floor as it slithered forward. Its skin resembled scales in some places, and its face was a grotesque mix of human features. But the eyes were empty, gleaming, had a cold, predatory focus. It flicked its tongue out, a long, thin thing, like a serpent testing the air, before it drew back into its mouth with a sickening wet sound. Its movements were smooth, silent, like a predator stalking its prey, but there was no sound at all, just the quiet scrape of claws against the floor. It wasn't just a biter. It was something else, something worse, something that was hunting me. And I couldn't even scream. I turned and ran for my gear, but as I made my way toward it, the creature's claws raked across the floor in front of me, closer than I realized. In a desperate attempt to avoid its swipe, I twisted too quickly, and my already injured left leg buckled beneath me. The brutal impact of my knee twisting sideways against the weight of my body. The sharp jolt sent a wave of white-hot pain through the joint, and I collapsed to the ground, my leg pinned awkwardly beneath me. It felt like something had snapped or twisted wrong inside, and I couldn't move it. I just lay there, trying to catch my breath, knowing I couldn't stay down. Not with that thing still coming. I fought against the pain, pushing myself up with one arm, dragging my useless leg behind me. The flare gun, strapped to my right leg, was within reach. I didn't have time to think. I just grabbed it, my fingers fumbling as I raised it. One shot. That was all I had. No strategy, no plan, just survive. I fired. The flare hit its left eye. It screamed, and the sound that came out of it was like nothing I'd ever heard before. High-pitched and shrill, tearing through the stillness of the tower. The light from the flare ignited its skin, and the creature recoiled, thrashing, its claws raking through the air as it stumbled backward. But it wasn't enough. The flare blinded it, but the creature was still alive. It writhed on the floor in agony, shrieking like an animal caught in a trap. I didn't know what to do next. I was frozen, my body locked in fear, but then instinct kicked in. I glanced around. The tower was cluttered with all kinds of junk, metal debris, shelves full of discarded equipment. Without thinking, I hobbled across the room, my legs screaming with every step. I grabbed the shelf from the corner and, using all the strength I had left, I shoved it in front of me, dragging it like a makeshift shield. My leg buckled with each painful step, almost making me fall flat on my face, but I pushed through it. I shoved the shelf into the creature, forcing it backward. The impact was enough to send both the shelf and the creature crashing through the glass. The shards exploded outward, and I almost went with them, my momentum nearly sending me tumbling right out with the creature and the shelf. I caught myself at the last second, my heart hammering in my chest as I staggered back from the edge. The beast let out a guttural, earth-shattering shriek, a noise that seemed to echo forever in the hollow space of the tower. The sound rattled the walls, shaking the entire building as if it was about to collapse. I had heard it. I had managed to injure it enough that it had to retreat. It laid there for a while in the ground before, slowly, it managed to slip through a vent in the side of the building, its body slipping out of sight, vanishing into the shadows. I thought I was safe. I thought the worst was over. But I was wrong. As the silence settled, I tried to catch my breath, my body shaking with adrenaline. My leg, The one that had been giving me so much trouble burned with an intensity I had never felt before. I couldn't put weight on it anymore. I stumbled, nearly fallen, but caught myself against the wall. That's when I heard it. A distant growl, then another. And then, all at once, the building was filled with the sounds of scraping claws, moans, and groans. The horde was here. I knew it the moment I heard them. The shriek, the one the creature had let out when it fell, had drawn them. It had been loud enough to shake the very foundation of this place, and now the biters were on their way. They were close. So close. I had to move. I had to leave, but my leg, I didn't know how much longer I could hold out. I tried to make it to the ladder, but the pain in my leg was unbearable. Every step sent a wave of agony shooting up my spine. My breath came in shallow gasps. My body was shutting down, but I couldn't give up now, not when I was this close to getting out. I looked over at my backpack. The map, the water, the pills were all right here. Everything I needed was right there, but my leg just gave out. I took a deep breath, had to try. I pushed off the wall and took a stumbling step forward, but my leg buckled beneath me, and I crashed to the floor with a sickening thud. Pain shot through me like a lightning bolt. I screamed before I could stop myself, raw, desperate, loud enough to echo through the tower, loud enough to let every last biter know exactly where I was. I laid there, face pressed against the cold metal floor, rain tapping above me like a countdown. My vision blurred for a second. Whether from the pain, or just everything crashing down at once, I don't know, but my leg just gave out. But even if by some miracle I could move it, it's still too late. The biters are already gathered below, clawing like they know I'm up here, like they're trying to finish what the creature couldn't. And me? There's no chance. I can't escape now. Even if I somehow manage to fix my leg, I'm surrounded. There's no way out. This is it. The only thing left for me was to let you guys know. So I crawled out, dragged myself across the floor to get my painkillers, to numb the pain, just enough to move, just enough to reach this transmitter and speak, to inform you before I'm gone. To be honest, I think I had more time. Thought I'd survive longer, but I guess this is just a bill coming due. I'm paying for my sins. My mind goes back to Hank, like I can see his face, the way he had looked at me on that last morning we spent together. His final words still echoed in my mind. Don't close your heart to people, Devon. There's bad in this world, real bad most times, but if someone even receives a small good, it makes everything worth it. I didn't deserve those words. I hadn't earned them. I'd let him die. And now I was going to die too. But God, He believed in me. Even when I didn't believe in myself. Even when I was still that scared kid with a criminal record and no future, shaking in the corner of that abandoned garage while the world burned outside. He saw something in me, something worth saving. He gave me food, shelter, his stories. Hell, he gave me hope. And when it came down to it, he gave his life. For me. And what did I do with it? Sat in a tower, hid from the world, talked into a mic and hoped someone was listening. And I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if I'm enough. The scratching is louder now. They're closer. I don't have much time left. My leg's useless. My arms are shaking. My head's swimming. I can barely keep my eyes open. But I can feel him. Hank, like he's here with me. Not in some ghost story way, but in the weight of his words, in the memory of that worn-out jacket he always wore, and the warmth he left behind that never really faded, even in this cold world. Maybe, just maybe, that's what I was meant to do. Not to survive forever, not to fix this broken world, but to pass it on. The kindness, the memory, the good. If anyone's still out there, please remember him. Not me. Not Devon the thief, the runaway, the voice on the radio. Remember Hank. Remember what he said. Don't close your heart. If you've been listening, if you're still out there, thank you for giving me purpose, for making me feel like I wasn't completely alone. And if any of this helped even one person make it one more day, then maybe Hank was right. Maybe it was worth it. I'm cutting off the transmission now, save you the horror for what's about to come next. I'm alive. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I am. I should be dead. I was ready for it. Hell, I'd already made peace with the idea, said my goodbyes into a dead mic, waiting for the scratching at the walls to turn into teeth on my throat. I was a goner. Nothing short of a miracle could have saved me. And that's exactly what happened. I almost didn't believe it when I first heard the noise. I'd been drifting in and out, barely conscious. My leg was still killing me. The pain was a constant, gnawing reminder of how close I'd come to the end. The sound in the distance was faint at first, too faint to trust. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me, my exhaustion, my desperation, twisting sounds into something I wanted to hear. But then it came again. The unmistakable sound of a helicopter. It wasn't my imagination. I could hear the rotor blades slicing through the air, the hum growing louder as it approached. The sound of a helicopter. I'd heard that in the past, in the days before everything went to hell. But hearing it now, I couldn't comprehend it. I heard the chopper land. Felt it too, as a whole tower vibrated from the impact. My heart pounded in my chest. I almost thought I'd faint, but I didn't. I had to know. I had to know who it was. Footsteps echoed in the tower, heavy and determined. There was something purposeful about the sound, something human. I couldn't move, couldn't say anything. My mouth felt dry, and my body refused to cooperate. I saw the man coming in and blinked through the fog of pain and confusion, trying to focus. All I caught at first was his jacket and the cap pulled low, shadowing his face. He walked steadily and cautiously, wearing a shirt and jeans under a worn-out jacket. Just seeing that worn-out jacket, my mind thought of something familiar. And then I blurted it out. Hank? He didn't respond immediately, as if he didn't know whether to confirm or deny it. But he took a step toward me and knelt down, his sidearm shifting slightly on his hip as he bent. "No, kid, it's not Hank," he said, his voice low but not unkind. "My name's Clyde. I'm here to get you out of here." I didn't know whether to believe him or not. I'd heard those words before, people telling me they were here to save me. But somehow something in the way he said it, something in his eyes, made me trust him. I didn't have the strength to talk much more. The pain was overwhelming. I felt myself slip into unconsciousness, and just before I passed out, I thought I heard him talking to me again, though I couldn't make out the words. Everything went dark. When I woke up, everything was different. The sound of the helicopter blades had faded, and the ground beneath me felt solid, steady. My legs still ached, but the pain had dulled. I was lying on a cot, the soft fabric of a blanket draped over me. That's when it hit me. I wasn't in that damn tower anymore. I'd been carried out somewhere safe, somewhere else. I was alive. I slowly opened my eyes, and there he was, Clyde, sitting next to me, his face still weathered and worn, but with a glimmer of relief in his eyes. He looked like he'd been through just as much as I had, maybe even more. He told me he didn't think I'd make it, that I was in worse shape than anyone he'd ever found. That weary gladness, the kind you hear when someone spent so long losing hope they almost forgot how to believe again. That's what I woke up to. Clyde told me everything. He used to broadcast just like me, in a city not far from here. He was taking shelter in the underground tunnels, but then something far worse than the biters showed up, and he had to leave. He said he went half mad from not seeing another living soul, but he always kept his radio on, always scanning for a sign of life. Then one day, through all the static, he picked up my voice. He wanted to reach me on the radio, but there wasn't a single working broadcast system where he was. He knew that I was in that tower in Allentown, but the problem was the roads were choked with biters. He had no clear path in. His luck came in the form of an old helicopter in a broken-down hangar. Rusted, wiring chewed through by rats, but the engine still turned. He spent days jury-rigging it back to flight-worthy, scavenging parts and praying the rot hadn't claimed the rotors. He was nearly finished fixing it when he heard the broadcast where I said I was planning to leave the city because I was afraid of the creature in the hospital. He knew that I was in danger because he had a similar situation before. But worse than that, he was scared of losing contact with another human being. So he got the chopper running as fast as he could and came straight here, just in the nick of time. We're currently in a different city now, holed up in another emergency broadcast tower. The place isn't ideal, but I chose it because I wanted to let everyone know that I'm alive, and that's why I'm doing this broadcast. I know you're all out there listening, hoping for a signal. Well, here I am, and I'm still alive, for whatever that's worth. I understood now. Hank was right all along. He always said not to close your heart to people, no matter how bad things got. And for the longest time, I didn't get it. I kept my distance, focused only on surviving, thinking that if I didn't trust anyone, I'd be safer. But after all this, after everything I've been through, I get it now. When he said it, Hank wasn't just talking about survival. He was talking about hope, about not letting the world turn you into something cold and disconnected. I couldn't shut myself off from people, even when every part of me wanted to. There's a reason I'm still here, because even in the worst of it, Hank saved me from the darkness, showed me kindness that I never thought was possible. So, Clyde and I have decided we'll be moving from town to town, searching for survivors, hoping to find more people who haven't given up yet. We're not just looking for a way out anymore. We're looking for a way to keep going, together. Every step we take, every risk we face, it's all for the chance to find even one more person who's still hanging on, just like we are. I know what it's like to feel alone in this, to feel like everything's fallen apart and there's no one left to help. So we'll keep moving, we'll keep fighting. We won't stop until we found every last soul out there that's still worth saving. And when we find another tower, I'll be back on the air, giving you everything I've got. So, if you're someone who needs help, reach out to us and we'll be there. But if you're doing fine yourself and just want to hear another voice on the radio, keep listening. When the time comes, I'll be back. But for now, this is goodbye.